Turning now to our top story, today's apology to the people known as the Forgotten Australians, and that children who were taken into care between the 1920s and the 1960s.
Rachel Mealy joins us now from the Parramatta Girls' Home, where a busload of former state wards are set to make their way to Canberra for the Prime Minister's apology. Rachel, thank you for joining us. Who is there and what's happening right now?
Mary, a number of former residents of the Parramatta Girls' Home are gathering here this morning. They're about to make their way down to Canberra for the apology, which starts, the ceremony in Canberra starts at 11 a.m. They're getting on a bus this morning, some old acquaintances being made here again this morning to make their way down to hear what they've all been waiting a long time to hear. I'm joined this morning by a former resident, Christina Green, who was here at the Parramatta Girls' Home in the early 1970s. I think from 1971 to 73, is that right? Can you tell me a bit about your experience? You were institutionalised in homes like this from the age of 3 or...?
From the age of 3 I was put into Bajura, and then I was fostered out to foster family, which was extremely abusive. I eventually ran away. Once you run away, you're charged with absconding. So that was my crime. I was sent to Linwood Hall. I had run away again and was sent to Ormond, another institution, because of my age, and then I ran away again. So my crime was all the time running away from a bad situation, of being abused in every which way, and ending up here in Parramatta because of my age.
So this facility was for the really naughty girls?
It was classed as a place for the most extreme girls that were labelled as prostitutes and criminals, but we weren't. There was 3/4 of these people that came here were children that had just been placed here because they were from their parents were war victims, so they wanted them here because they couldn't look after them, or because they were just state wards that were running away from a bad institution, whether that be an institution or foster placement or from their family home.
Tell me about some of the experiences here. You talked about before there's actually a place on site which was known as the dungeon.
That's right, just over there we've got the dungeon, and there was no light, no window, and it was a normal practice when a girl came that they end up in the dungeon, and that was to put fear into the girl. Everything here was demoralising, and it took away your identity and your well-being. You know, you didn't have a voice. Once you came here, your rights, your liberties were taken away. It was a daily thing that a girl would be bashed, that girls were being raped, and they were being scrutinised in the sense of doing demoralising work of just scrubbing on their knees for days in, days out. If they were on punishment, they would be put onto a scrubbing party, and that could last for 2 or 3 days. And if you came off your knees just to have a breather, a 2-minute rest, you were then dragged by the hair and thrown into isolation. There was 3 places of detainment here: the dungeon, which was underground, no light and no window; isolation, which had 6 cells, and another place of confinement over here, which was to segregate you from the main building.
So when you were here, did you know why you were here? Did you know what your mother knew about where you were?
No, I was sent here because I was uncontrollable, because I'd been running away, and because I was an absconder. And when I actually pulled up here, I was so scared because of the high walls, and I could hear the left, right. We heard from other institutions, oh, don't go to Parramatta, because if you go to Parramatta, you'll be bashed. It's a terrible place. And if you muck up there, they send you to Hay, which is out in the middle of nowhere. And I also went to Hay 3 times. So this place for me is a huge thing to come back to at my age now, because it's where all the trauma, the years where I should have been socialising, going to parties, you know, school dances and all that, ceased when we came through this system. There was no education and there was no interaction. Everything was done on silence.
What does today mean for you, given that background?
Well, it's a huge thing, and for us Parramatta girls, we're fighting to get this as a national living memorial, because it predates Port Arthur, and it was used in 1800 for convict women, and they put their children in the Parramatta Girls' Home here, which was the orphanage, and later it became Parramatta Girls' Home. So there's a great significance here. So we're campaigning, this is what we've been doing for the past few years, is campaigning to get this as a living memorial.
Your former residents and friends that you've reunited with over the last few years, you're joining a bus trip to go to Canberra this morning. What's that going to be like for you?
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fantastic just to be united and to be able to talk, have a voice and go back proud and know that it wasn't our fault. You know, we can let go of that shame, all the things that were told to us, put downs and name calling, and we carried that for years. And for now, finally we get to have an apology, and it's a step in the right direction. It's the first step, and it's a major step to make change in society, I think.
Well, Christina, good luck with today. We hope your journey down there is a good one.
Thanks
very much
Thanks
for joining
very much.
us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mary, that was Christina Green, a former resident of the Parramatta Girls' Home here in Parramatta. Obviously some very traumatic tales to be shared today by all of these forgotten Australians.
Certainly are. Rachel Mealy, thank you very much for joining us and bringing us those stories.